Leader of the third party.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Once again, it's very interesting to listen to this debate back and forth. And I keep hearing the word efficiency and doing things efficiently. One of the most foundational principles of representative parliamentary democracy is actually inefficiency. It's actually about having more oversight, more transparency, and more accountability for decisions that are being made, not less. The minister said that the Treasury Board is a subcommittee of cabinet, but it also includes non-cabinet members. That's some parliamentary oversight of executive decision-making. That's important. How a government spends money is how it exercises power. And to hear the Minister of Finance over and over and over again justify transferring that enormous power, providing the capacity in this bill to transfer, to delegate that enormous power to two people because of efficiency, is actually the opposite of what democracy is supposed to be. And I've stood up a lot in the last 18 months and talked about democracy in this place because I'm worried about it. And I raised this during the briefing. I am alarmed. I am deeply alarmed by this trend of this government towards more and more and more efficiency. Oh yeah, there's governments that are incredibly efficient because they don't have to answer to parliaments. They don't have to bring their legislation forward. They don't have to have oversight and accountability and transparency. That's extremely efficient. And maybe you think on the other side that, oh, this is too much. She's being hysterical. She's taking this too far. I wonder whether these decisions are being contemplated about the future of this democratic institution and the implications for that future. Because it's not just this government that is providing itself the ability to delegate Treasury Board decision-making to two people. It's every government after this government. That is not a strengthening of democratic principles. That is a diminishing. So my question to the minister is does she think that efficiency aligns with the work of a parliamentary democracy in this province?
Minister.
Thank you very much. I listened carefully to what the member was speaking to, and my argument to her is when you have so many matters come before you, the risk is that you don't get the depth on the matters that you need to in the way that you ought to around making this decision making, because there's so many matters. by the Treasury Board making a determination, the Treasury Board making the determination, not the Premier, not the Finance Minister, not the Treasury Board Chair and Vice Chair, but the Treasury Board making a decision or recommendation around these matters where we prefer to have the Chair and Vice Chair take a look at, so that we have the opportunity and the depth that is required on these really significant matters, so that we can take the time that we need for robust debate and discussion, rather than, like saying a project that's already been discussed, it moving on to the next stage. It has to come back to Treasury Board. But do we need to have the same discussion over again? Or should we be having a more robust discussion on other items that demand attention? So this is really about giving the Treasury Board a tool that allows it to determine where it's going to be focusing its energies and its deliberations, so that it gets the full attention of the Treasury Board in a way that it deserves.
Leader of the third party.
Thank you. The minister didn't specifically respond to the question around efficiency, because up until now, in almost every response to the critic from the official opposition, what the minister talked about was this was about efficiency. And indeed, that's what I was told in the briefing. This is about efficiency. We are all elected here as representatives. Cabinet ministers, members of the executive have an additional, an enormous burden on them. A burden that they have to accept. They can say, no, actually, I don't want that burden. They're compensated for that burden. We've been talking about that. I would expect and hope that the members of Treasury Board would recognize that additional burden of being on Treasury Board, of being at the table that makes the decisions about how money is spent in this province, which is, again, the greatest exercise of power. That they would say, I take that burden, and I understand that that means for me, I am going to have to go deep on a lot of matters, on a lot of subjects, but that's what I ran for office to do. That's when I accepted my cabinet position, and when I accepted my role on Treasury Board, when I said yes to that, I said yes to deeply understanding how money is being spent, because that's my responsibility, my burden back to the citizens that I serve. Not, oh man, it's a lot. Boy, I wish this could be more efficient. And so, again, I heard the minister's response, but I am very concerned about this notion of efficiency being a driving principle in decision-making in this government and this legislature. Efficiency means we get legislation that is a framework. It's enabling legislation. It doesn't have the information. It's more efficient to make those decisions at cabinet. It's more efficient to make them by regulation. Efficiency means less transparency, less accountability. Efficiency means the public has less capacity to know. And now efficiency means delegating this decision, this capacity for decision-making allows the Treasury Board to delegate any of its powers or duties, as again, the critic pointed out. No, we don't know specifically which ones, any of them. And then it's covered by freedom of information, means any information about the delegated activities must not be disclosed in an FOI request. Now, I understand that Treasury Board is already well protected under FOI legislation, but I really question why this government, this minister, consider this to be a required change to the legislation at a time like this. And I will ask the minister again, is efficiency sufficient enough of a reason to make this change?
Minister.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the member's passion and certainly acknowledgement of the enormous burden. And that's why we're leaving it up to Treasury Board to determine how it wants to do its due diligence and do its accountability and create the space that is needed to do that important work. And there are some decisions that come to Treasury Board that don't require the same level of, same depth because of the nature of the decision or the nature of, there had been historical deep discussions about various projects, and I'll use report backs as an example. So does it require the same depth of discussion? Perhaps not, and it really is up to Treasury Board to determine again, what it wants, because there's many bodies around that table, and they, as a body, can determine what it wants to see before it, and what decisions it is prepared to delegate to the chair and the vice chair, recognizing that it will come back to Treasury Board too in some format about how that decision played out. And this is really about making sure that the Treasury Board members have the space to do their due diligence on the things that they identify that require it.